Hello, my final presentation is on the ethical and legal considerations when counseling pregnant adolescents. According to the World Health Organization, adolescence is between the ages of 10 and 24. So, an overview of this population: each year, more than 500,000 girls and young women younger than the age of 20 become pregnant. Um, and pregnancy, abortion, childbearing, and single parenthood are the highest in industrialized countries, including in the United States. There are many sociocultural factors involved. The media influence that supports adolescent sexuality can be deceiving and manipulative towards young teens. Socioeconomic status of the teen, teens who grow up in poverty and who experience discrimination as a member of a minority group um, are more likely to become pregnant and to raise a child as a single parent, as they may not have access to proper medical care and may not perceive viable opportunities for educational or occupational advancement. Also, family factors such as substance abuse, physical and sexual abuse, and family dysfunction can play into the role of a teen becoming pregnant. Um, and childbearing rates are highest for African American inner city teenagers, but are also rising rapidly among other racial and ethnic groups. So the literature on therapeutic practice considerations lists a few things that are necessary for a counselor to be aware of when working with a pregnant adolescent. Such as determining if the adolescent has a supportive social network, which, if they do, that is key to them determining the best course of action for themselves, as well as providing the best medical and mental health care needed. So, if the parents and the partner or a relative is supportive, that can really influence the course of treatment. Also, the counselor needs to consider the educational level and capacity of the adolescent to make decisions about whether to have an abortion or to keep a child, um, which I will get into further. Also, considering the familial and cultural attitudes. So, um, will this be a potential detriment to the client if they are to disclose that they are pregnant? Is there a history of teen pregnancy in the family, and what was the attitudes of that? So determining potential issues is key to determining the safety of the client. So if the client were to disclose that they are pregnant, what implications would that have on their living with their family members? Um, it may result in either improved clinical care or rejection and abuse from the family. So, the case conceptualization I created is similar to a client that I am working with now. Alice is a 14-year-old African American woman who came into session one day with feelings of anxiety and depression. She was accompanied by her mother. When her mother leaves the room, she says that she had unprotected sex with her boyfriend, and she took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. Her parents do not know that she is sexually active. She also decides that she wants to have an abortion, but does not want her family to know. This has caused intense anxiety and depression as she is unsure what to do about her current situation. So, using the ethical decision-making model, the next slides of the PowerPoint go step by step through it to determine the best sort of approach to working with Alice as a counselor. So the first one is identifying and defining the problem. So Alice and her family and the counselor, stakeholders. Alice is a 14-year-old African American woman who is pregnant. She does not want her parents to know that she is pregnant, and she also wants an abortion, and she does not want her parents to know about that. Issues are confidentiality of information and HIPAA for a minor, what that entails, potential harm of to the client if they were to disclose this information, as well as sociocultural factors. So the next step is involving your client in the decision-making process. So because Alice is 14, she may have difficulty associating the present situation with future consequences and would need guidance on the realities of pregnancy and parenthood. She may not have gotten proper sexual education in school, um, which isn't the responsibility of the counselor, but it would be good to assess sort of her capacity to have the decision to have an abortion, what her understanding of an abortion is. Also, talking with her about what information she wants to disclose to her mother and determining whether it's safe to do so, whether her family would be supportive or not, and also providing her with resources for medical care if she already if she doesn't have a primary care physician, if she needs information on teen pregnancy and sort of the medical implications of even getting an abortion, what would that do to her body? Also, as a counselor, considering age of consent and confidentiality. So, in some states, the age of consent to sex is different. Some say 18, others 16 or even 14. And few states allow minors to even consent to abortion. So, in that case, family involvement may be necessary. Um, Also, considering the emancipated status of a minor. In this case, conceptualization, it's not determined if Alice is emancipated or not, but if that's the case, letting the adolescent know and their own rights and having an awareness of this information. And also, the literature talked a lot about building trust, and that is only necessary and effective through proper communication um, and letting the adolescent know what confidentiality means. Um, so also considering, does the client have the capacity to understand the information? Does the client appear to weigh the risks and benefits of potentially having an abortion or keeping the child? And also, is the decision consistent with prior decisions? So what is the client's sort of decision-making history? What are their values and priorities in life? All things to consider. Also, so the step 3 of the decision-making model is reviewing the code of ethics. There were 3 that stuck out to me. So inability to consent, so determining parental and familial legal rights, as well as responsibility to clients. So when counseling a minor, um, letting them know that they have certain rights, what would be confidentiality in terms of um, what they're going through right now, as well as what the council relationship involves as specified by federal and state written policy. So then release of confidentiality and confidential information. So when a counselor is counseling a minor, having the counselor seek permission from an appropriate third party to disclose information is key, such as consultation with a supervisor, as well as the counselor being able to inform the client consistently with their level of understanding of what confidentiality means. Um, Also, so step 4 is considering ethical principles and virtues. I think autonomy is a big one when working with adolescents, letting them know the options that they have, um, while also taking less of an authoritative stance, and also non-malfeasance, so determining with Alice what it would mean to disclose information to her family, and also providing her care um, with the intention of doing no harm. Um, the counselor having self-awareness is key, and also understanding their own biases in terms of working with this population, discernment, so having a perspective and seeing the alternatives to that in the interest of the client. Um, So steps 5 through 7, tuning into your feelings. So avoiding advocating for a particular position, especially when regarding pro-life and pro-choice decisions, um, and especially um, not assisting a minor in obtaining an abortion. So there's a lot of biases and personal factors involved, but really just keeping an open communication and being non-judgmental in this situation is key um, in order to help the client make the best possible decision for themselves. Consultation with colleagues, such as a supervisor, is key, and considering the social cultural context. Um, since Alice is 14 years old and African American, also knowing her socioeconomic status, knowing what her own values and what her family's values are and perspectives in pregnancy and raising children and things like that. So the last steps are um, so the desired outcome would be that Alice would be able to confide in her family and receive support in her decisions. Possible outcomes could be rejection or abuse by the family. Alice deciding to keep everything a complete secret and what effects that would have on mental and physical health. Um, Number 9 is choosing a course of action. So really doing that by assessing the capacity that Alice has to make decisions, considering the risks and benefits of having an abortion or raising a child, having a discussion with Alice about releasing info to her mother, and also consultation with a supervisor on the next steps in order to help Alice. Number 10, reflecting on the experience, so making sure to fully document the session, um, journal, and talk with a supervisor. So considerations and possible concerns are the counselor's competency when working with this population, as well as role boundaries, so age differences, what the counter-transference and transference would look like, would Alice see the counselor as a friend, as a family member, so establishing boundaries there. Confidentiality issues and conflict between parent and child, determining what their relationship is there and how involved the counselor is going to be within their relationship. Multicultural concerns, so biases and your own background, socioeconomic status, race, and gender are all factors to consider. Legal factors are the minor status and age of consent, which you would have to consult with your state laws and regulations. And self-care concerns, mostly countertransference issues. As somebody who was 14 only 10 years ago, understanding what it means to be an adolescent, and understanding peer pressure and sort of just being aware of my own reactions and knowing how I would feel if I was in her situation. Um, so all things to consider. So here are all my references, and thank you all for listening.